What's up? Welcome back. Uh this is yep, you know what this is. I've been doing these films now. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. This is directed by Christopher McQuarrie. It stars Tom Cruise, Rebecca Ferguson, Simon Pegg, Jeremy Renner, Alec Baldwin. Ving Rhames is back. Ving Rhames. And um, it is it's also interestingly produced by Bad Robot. So JJ is sort of back in the mix in the background. He's hanging out back there. But it doesn't feel like a JJ Abrams thing. It just feels like a really well done thing. And this is Christopher McQuarrie is just nailing it on the head right here. I mean, he's a very talented director. I think the first thing of his that I really loved was that he directed anyway was The Way of the Gun. I know that that seems really weird, and people are like, "What is that? What are those words he just said to me?" If you, I know for a lot of film people that film just kind of like died. It's a little like the people who champion. I would challenge any film community members out there who just scoffed at me to say there are a lot of people who say things like 2 days in the valley. They throw a film like that out there. I feel like that's kind of the same thing. There were some like ensemble movies coming out in the 90s and 2000s that had sort of a vibe of the time. We had films coming out from Tarantino and Altman and all these sort of like ensemble movies where sort of everybody was signing up for them and they were sort of like murder mystery type things. And The Way of the Gun was kind of that. It was a little bit of an action. Had a great cast: Ryan Philippe, Taye Diggs, James Caan, just to mention a few. So yeah, it's the first time that I made a point of memorizing Christopher McQuarrie's name. A lot of times I don't use names of people. It's because I didn't, I will make it a point of knowing who you are when uh, you blow my mind. You know what I'm saying? Like when something comes through and you're like, oh, and I'm like, oh my God, who is this person? I need to know their name. That happens. And that was the point for me where I was like, yes, I need to know this director's name. I need to be able to follow Christopher McQuarrie. I learned what else he had already done, and I've been following his career trajectory ever since. Um, and I'm really happy he got to direct a Mission Impossible film because kind of feels like Christopher McQuarrie is going to pervasively and persistently go under the radar for his entire career. This film does have audio description on Paramount Plus. Like I said before, all of them do. So kudos to Paramount Plus for doing that. This is what I'm talking about. I have mentioned this when I've reviewed other franchises and other films. Uh, have enough respect for your franchise that is carrying your logo to describe the entire fucking thing. Universal, I'm looking at you. Jurassic Park and Fast and Furious, what are you doing? Those whole franchises are billion-dollar franchises that you're still making films from that are carrying your Universal logo, and you are completely and fully okay with them being on Peacock without audio description. It's disgusting. Anyway, back to Mission Impossible. um, yes. So Ethan is he's back, and once again we have a weird time jump, sort of, but not as weird because last time he didn't end up uh, with Paula Patton and some sort of weird uh, beach, I don't know, vacation segments. So we didn't have to go like, oh, where did Paula Patton go? Because she's not here. Uh, they don't even mention her. She's just gone. It's like women do not stand this franchise, which actually makes Rebecca Ferguson very unique. Anyway, so we start off at the top, and it's the big stunt, and I remember seeing the the segments that they were doing, that they were proudly showing people. I think they actually showed it in theaters, where they were showing that he actually did this stunt. They were very proud of that. Tom is known for doing stunts, um, and actually, as much as possible, like as much as he humanly possibly can, he will do his own stunt work, even at his age. And that man actually hung from the side of a plane as it was taking off. Truthfully, actually hung. We hung a, $1 million film star on the side of a plane as it was taking off. Yes, he was well secured, a lot more well secured than he looks like he is in the film, when he looks like he's just like free hanging. But he still did it. So mad props to him for that. This film I actually have seen more than once, because it doesn't give me chills like the Burj Khalifa sequence in Ghost Protocol. So I think that's actually really cool. And there's actually, you can kind of tell it's real. The way that the wind is hitting him and the way that his mic kind of sounds like, you can actually sort of tell it's not faked. They didn't like ADR it. They didn't come back through and try to clean it up. They're like, no, no, no. This sounds real. We want it to sound real. Sounds great. It's a really great effect. And I know what it looks like. I kind of wonder what it looks like, how exciting that sequence is to somebody who never had, doesn't know what it looks like. But I think the concept of hanging to a plane as it's taking off, and knowing the fact, if you know, like I'm telling you right now, he's actually hanging to that plane. That's not a special effect. That's this is not green screen. Um, then I think you immediately just go a little bit more like, oh my God, he's actually doing that. Yeah, he's actually doing that. So, anyway, um, that's a big stunt for the film. There are many more stunts throughout the film, but it's really hard to top that. It's really hard to top hanging from the. I mean, He's hung from the side of the Burj Khalifa, and he's hung out of a moving plane. I don't really know what else he can possibly do at this point. Anyway, um, I guess, there are things, obviously, because he always feels like he has to one up himself in Fallout and Dead Reckoning. Although his stunt in Fallout did not work out the way that he planned, um, and we'll talk about that when I review Fallout. Anyway, this is a film where poor Ethan, once again, is a man without a country. Is this man ever going to just have an IMF that works like functionally and normally, and the government can just get behind? He always feels like he has to work under the radar, or he's disavowed, or his country hates him, or they think he's guilty, or he's constantly trying to prove his innocence. When you watch all of these films back to back, you realize it's a recurring theme. So once again, here, thanks to Alec Baldwin, at the beginning, he has shut down IMF because they go rogue too much. Yeah, I use the title right now. And despite Brant's, played by Jeremy Renner, his trying to fight to keep it open and trying to justify it, he can't, and loses that battle, and is supposed to bring all the agents in, but one agent cannot be brought in, and that agent is Ethan Hunt, because Ethan has stumbled upon the Syndicate. The Syndicate has also actually really stumbled upon him, as a really cool sequence we'll show you. Again, try not to spoil. We're getting newer, we're getting closer and closer, so I'm trying to spoil less and less. I feel more and more confident about spoiling older and older titles, but the newer and newer titles, I'm less encouraged about spoiling. This is 2015, I think. Yeah, I think it was 2015. So, it's definitely uh, a new world for Ethan when he can't contact his people, and Luther has gone off the grid. Luther appears in the opening sequence, then we don't see him again for a while. Benji is, stuck back in an office. He doesn't get to go out on the field anymore. He's not a field agent. and Brandt is basically also just kind of stuck doing paperwork. So, but they got jobs within the CIA. They got recalled, presumably with whatever other IMF agents. I'm sure Paula Patton out there got recalled, and who knows what she's doing. I don't know. We don't. The movie doesn't seem to care. Anyway, so Ethan finds himself sort of captured by the syndicate, and then that's where he meets Rebecca Ferguson's character, who may not be what she seems. Ethan has to fight his way out of a situation, and the film kind of just progresses from there with him finding out that the syndicate is bigger and larger than he initially thought, and is controlled by somebody who seems to be two steps ahead of him. He's not always really sure why or how. And he has no help from IMF, so he has to do everything completely off the grid. He is a man without a country. Um, and, but taking down the syndicate is very important to him. He definitely saw something that he can't unsee, and that is, I think, fueling his uh, his desire to take down the syndicate. So, yes, and there are big stunts along the way, and chase sequences, and fight sequences, and just a lot of great things. The syndicate is basically an organization that is formed of agents from other countries who are all listed as being presumed dead or even confirmed dead. Goes to show you how well that works. Uh, so it's yeah, it's an interesting little organization that has popped up. Not unlike Spectre, that James Bond has to fight. That seems like, you know. However, in this film, Ethan is kind of, the Syndicate hasn't quite gotten to the level of what Spectre is to James Bond, in that it's still trying to get that one last key that it needs to really have complete control and domination. And that's what Ethan has to try to stop to do throughout the course of the film, perhaps with the help of Rebecca Ferguson. Maybe. We'll see. Will she earn your trust? Will she earn his? Is she good? Is she bad? What's going on with Rebecca Ferguson? So, I think this is a great movie. Uh, I know some people immediately heard the name Alec Baldwin and just giggled, and I don't know, they're probably gone. They probably left the review already. But yeah, he's in this. It's not like a huge part, but he plays part of the ever ending rotating cycle of people who have been in charge of IMF that keep just getting recycled. We started off with back in the day, what was it? Henry Cerny was, I guess, technically running Mission Impossible at the beginning, and then Anthony Hopkins, and Lawrence Fishburne. Just, it's exhausting. I don't know why we have to keep changing that role. It makes you really value Judi Dench's work in the James Bond franchise. You're like, thank you for staying since GoldenEye until Skyfall. She stayed through a Bond change. Like, she literally, we reset the franchise and kept Judi Dench. That's how good she is. So, here they're just like, every film they're like, oh, we can't, gotta switch it up, you know. It's nice to see Ving Rhames back. That was, you know, I don't know why he was gone for a film. I'm sure he probably asked for too much money, and the studio was like, ah. He's like, well, I've been in 3 movies. I don't know what you want from me. You know, I deserve to be paid well for this franchise. Um, so yeah, it's good to see him back here, and I'm sure Tom was instrumental in getting him to return. Simon Pegg's Benji is great as usual. He's getting a little bit better in the field, and also not. And that's what makes Benji so great, is that he doesn't really have field training, but he wants to act like he has field training. So it's like he's playing spy, and it makes it so great for the sequences that he's in. Um, Tom has this great like underwater sequence that he has to do that's, where they just sort of keep explaining it, and it's shot really well, and you're like, wait a minute, did that is this really happening? Um and McQuarrie does a really good job with that. The tension in this is good. This film feels like it's really long for some reason, just because it's going through a lot of sort of different locations and stunts, and you realize that he's jam packing a lot into it, but it's really only about 2 hours and 10 minutes, so it's actually not that long of a movie. It's just, I don't know, we're just so you're used to seeing shorter and shorter things nowadays, in some forms, that whenever we see anything long, we just complain about it. But I think this 2 hours and 10 minutes is used really well, because it's an action set piece. It's chasing somebody to this location to chase them to this location, so we can show off this cool fight and learn this thing about the syndicate, and then accomplish this impossible mission so we can accomplish another impossible mission. He really makes good use of his time. This film doesn't really let down. There's not really a lull ever in the 2 hours and 10 minute running time. So for me, um, this is like my favorite Mission Impossible film. This and Fallout, and the only difference between this and Fallout is that this one I had full vision to see Rogue Nation. For Fallout, um, I was in a place where I had started to lose my vision, and I didn't have a lot of it. And I was going to theaters because I could still kind of see things on the screen. And I went to a theater that didn't have audio description, like as anywhere, like inside the theater. I went to a cheap theater to see Mission Impossible Fallout. So, and not spend a lot of money on it. So it's on me, but I'm gonna watch it after this with audio description for the first time. But I was able to see some of it. Like I could see like some things moving, because when you put a giant screen and you kind of have some vision left, you're like, I can kind of see what's going on. So yeah, it wasn't a complete waste of time and experience, but my vision was pretty shot at that point. Um, and It was my final experience with Fallout. Now just Dead Reckoning. I just could be listening to Dead Reckoning. So so Rogue Nation, I think, is the top of the franchise for me. It's all encompassing. It has just fantastic action sequences. It has probably the best cast unified together. Everybody's here. They're all together in one film. Fallout also, it's really close. I mean, they're like neck and neck. There's like a 0.1% difference between the two of them. But I love this film. Rebecca Ferguson is an excellent addition to this cast. She brings a completely different flavor than Paula Patton brought, which was a completely different flavor than any of the women from Mission Impossible 3 brought, depending on which one you think. I mean, obviously, Michelle Monaghan and Kerry Russell were playing two completely different characters. Different than Taney Wayne Newton, different than Emmanuel Biard, or even Kristen Scott Thomas. So I love that they are changing it up. And Rebecca definitely feels a little bit, she's closest, I guess, to Paula Patton in that she's actually, um, she can take care of herself, you know? She doesn't necessarily need assistance. She's also fantastic on Silo. If you haven't started watching Apple Plus's Silo, this is my opportunity to shout that out, because oh my god, Ermigerd. Talk about a show that sucked me in, and it's like a drug. I don't know. I just kept going deeper and deeper, and I was like, what is this show? What am I watching? Oh, fantastic. I cannot wait for season 2. Like, I don't think I've been that excited for a second season of a show in a long time. Um, but yes, uh, fantastic. Loved it. The audio description, great. It's also a different narrator. I think every single film has a different narrator, and I mean, I love that they all have audio description. I just think it's hilarious that they have different narrators. And at this point with Rogue Nation, we had active audio description in theaters. Actually, I would say definitely by Ghost Protocol, we had audio description in every theater. So those were probably originally theatrical uh, cuts of audio description. I don't know about Mission Impossible 3. I'm not going to say there wasn't any audio description anywhere, but I remember where I was working, what theater I was working for when Mission Impossible 3 came out, and I don't ever remember handing out any headsets. So um, there's that. So could have just been my theater. Could have just been. Anyway, but this is my favorite. So check it out. So I didn't feel like I had, having been on the cited side and knowing what it is that they have to describe, I didn't feel like the audio description misses a beat. So it is an action heavy film. I know a lot of times blind people that I've talked to are like, this is their least favorite um, genre to watch is this, and I felt like it was fine. Like I feel like they described everything as I remembered it, and this was fresh in my mind, and it brought back a lot of images, which is always a good thing if you can describe a scene well enough along with the soundtrack to the film to where I can actually sort of have that memory recall. But that was really great, and I had a lot of that. I had a lot of memory recall with this film, so kudos. And I'm blessed and thankful that this film has audio description. So anyway, I'm giving Mission Impossible Rogue Nation an A. Yep, that's it. Anyway, please subscribe. I'm still trying to break 200. I cannot believe that I've been stuck at 6 people away from 200. I'm trying to get there by the end of the year. I have like half a month to get there. It's very depressing. And I just want to talk about audio description in front of a large amount of people, and 194 is not going to necessarily get the streamers to listen to me. So I need many. I would take fake accounts at this point because it would at least make people think that people were following me. But I probably shouldn't say that. I would if somebody was just like, "I'll create 1,000 fake accounts for you." I'm like, "Okay, do it. Let's get it done." Anyway, MacTheMovieGuy.com is my site. You can follow me on X Threads or Instagram at MacTheMovieGuy. You can go to the audio description project, adp.acb.org. It'll let you know what has audio description and where you can watch it. And you can go to the ADNA.org. That's the ADNA.org. It'll let you know who's narrating your favorite films and television series. That's it for me today. I'm going to watch something else, probably Fallout, and see you guys tomorrow, actually. On the other side, but tomorrow.